I mean, you've been in the business as an actor for so long, and I know you've probably felt an itch to direct for a while. But why this movie? What made you say this is the one I got to go in with?
Yeah, great question. Well, this was a story that really knocked me out, and I'd been looking to direct something for a long time. I'd written a bunch of other scripts, but this one I was just compelled. There was something about it. You know, I know the guy who it's based on, and we're friends, and I just when I heard the whole story, I just felt, okay, this has got to be told. And then basically we started working on the project and the script, and he wrote a book, and the thing just sort of kept growing and growing and building momentum. And at a certain point, I just said, okay, I've got it financed. Let's make the movie. And then there were sort of starts and stops, and eventually he actually threatened to kill himself if I didn't make the movie by a certain date. He was sort of fed up with the process, and he just said, you know, I'm just gonna I'm gonna off myself unless you make the movie by such and such a date. So that was it. That was the green light, the official green light, and we just went right into pre-production. I think we had about maybe a week or two of pre-production. It was very, very rushed and a bit of a chaotic shoot, but we did it in 17 days on a shoestring budget. I had amazing actors. I had a very talented crew. And, it was tough. I'd say it was the hardest thing I've ever done, the most challenging by a long shot. Just the role itself was more challenging than any other I'd played. And then adding the directing and the producing hat on top of that made it all the more challenging. But as I've told other people, I used all the difficulties and all the challenges as sort of impetus for my character, right? Because he's in such a bad way and in such bad shape that the more I threw on myself, the more I knew it would sort of work with what what Adam was going through. So it kind of worked out.
The character is so, it's so different for you. So like you said, even if you just accepted this as an acting challenge, I would think it would be incredibly daunting, much less add the directing and the producing and all the other stuff. But I'm curious to know, in terms of acting and directing, if they use the same muscles in the way that as an actor you need to know, okay, what do I need in this scene? What is this scene about? And I would think that it's the same concern that a director has.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're actually one and the same, or they were. That's the way I approached it. I mean, my main focus was really it was all about the story for me. So simultaneously, it all became about the acting, sort of in where I was at, and I knew because of the challenge of having to direct as well that I really needed to know the part. So, having worked on it for a number of years in the screenplay form, I really, I knew the part pretty much in and out. So I was, normally on a set I would be in my trailer learning and studying and working, and so I basically was doing that while I was looking at the shots and just figuring out other problems. But I was constantly, almost always working on the part. I could always sort of go right into the part. So, I was basically in character as Adam, ready to jump into the scene, but also doing some other things on the side, kind of was sort of how it sort of worked out, because I knew that if the acting didn't work, that we didn't have a movie.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure I was most concerned about that. And then just the actors that I had were just incredible. And then it was all just about, we just need to capture it on film. And it was pretty straightforward. There's nothing we weren't trying to do anything tricky, just really tell this story in a pretty,
honest, direct way. Yeah.
Honest, direct way. So and I think we did that.
Were you at all worried that kind of maintaining as an actor and director, maintaining the quality of one of those roles might sacrifice the quality of the other?
Yes, definitely. I mean, that's certainly a concern. I think directing in and of itself is a huge job and should be a full-time job and probably shouldn't be shared with any other jobs on the set. And the same with acting, and the same with producing. It's tricky. But again, I had this guy's sort of life was in my hands, and I really wanted to direct. And I wasn't thinking of playing the part. It was never really in my brain. I wanted Stephen Dorff to play the role, and I talked to him about it, and he sounded interested, and he's a friend. And at the end of the day, I just couldn't get him to commit. And a friend of mine, Howard Himmelstein, who's a great writer, had suggested to me. We went out. He was helping me with the script, and he had said to me, "Hey, you know what? Why don't you play this part?" And I looked at him. I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Yeah, you should." He said, "You're not getting any younger." He said, "You should play this part." He says, "You can pull this off." And I was like, "Wow, really?" He's like, "Yeah, you could do it. Just go for it." So I thought about it, and I was like, "Geez, wow, oh my God." Okay, maybe I should do this. And then all of a sudden, the actor in me got so excited about it. I was like, okay, I've got to play this part. So I called my investors and I said, hey guys, I want to play the part too. And they basically said, hey, okay, if you think you can pull it off, you think you can do both, go for it. And I've wanted to I didn't want to give up the directing because that's really what I wanted to do, because I wanted to direct, but now I'm really wanting to play the part because I wouldn't get cast in this part normally. So, and that's really my true love, is the acting. The directing, I was sort of always interested in it, always curious about it. On every movie set I'd been on, I'd always sort of would watch the directing and the lighting and setting up of the shots. And I think it's a marvelous thing to work on and do, but I couldn't give up the acting all of a sudden. So, that's I decided, hey, listen, I'm just going to go for it. Let's see what happens. And luckily I had a really strong team, and we just made it work. We were like we just got it done. We're shooting sometimes 8 pages, sometimes 10 pages a day. Sometimes we didn't even get a chance to do more than one take. Oftentimes I didn't have a chance to even look at the monitor. I'd just go, we'd do the scene, I'd say, we got it. I'd look at the DP and he'd say, yep. I'd say, okay, let's go. I couldn't be too precious with it because I just really wanted to get it done. I wanted to get it in the can, and I knew the performances were really, were strong. I did. I felt, Scotty, she was amazing, and I felt like I was really delivering honest, real work, and I was very much, the story was very impacting to me. I was really, really connected to the story and my love for my brother and my love for her, and and then also just the rest of the cast was, Bruce Davison. It's Tricia Helfer, Scott Wolf.
Yeah.
Leon Robinson.
Cast.
Everybody. Yeah, Kate Nauta. We had a great cast. We had Chavo from System of a Down. Comes in and plays a rock star. I don't know. It was just sort of everything sort of came together, and then we ended up with the movie. And I think, listen, it's not the greatest movie in the world, but it's a powerful little movie. And as a lot of people have said to me, they say, "Wow, that movie has a lot of heart."
Yeah.
Like that's I've heard that expression a lot. This is a movie with a lot of heart. A few people have told me that it reminds them of Love Story. So,
Well, what interests me about it too, because you shot this in something like 17 days. So
yeah.
when you're shooting at that rapid pace, I'm sure it kind of gives the movie an energy it might not have already had, and you're writing on kind of instinct, so it's not overthought. You don't think the heart out of it, I think.
No, we didn't. We definitely didn't. No, we were figuring it out on the spot. I mean, it was storyboarded, but a lot of that was thrown away just because, we were finding locations, losing locations, coming up with stuff in the last minute. We were losing days. All of a sudden we went from, we started out at 22 days, and all of a sudden it was 20. And then before I knew it, we were down to 17. So Jesse Stratton and I, my co-writing partner, we were rewriting scenes on the spot. We just said, hey, let's change this. What do we do here? Well, we were, figuring things out because we lost the light. So a daytime scene all of a sudden had to become a nighttime scene. And it was, we were on our toes, constantly trying to figure out how to just get to the end, enjoying it, but it was challenging. My back went out. There were, certain times it was rough. It was not fun. It was definitely not fun. I mean, it was exciting and thrilling, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't like going to going on a vacation. It was like going to war.
Mm.
Well, so was my character, right? So
exactly. But when you're talking about that kind of pressure cooker situation and how getting those performances were the most important consideration in your mind, I'm wondering how you as a director create an environment on the set where the actors can give their best and feel comfortable.
Yeah. Well, I think that what I would do, and I learned this from some of the great directors that I worked with over the years, like John Avildsen and Robert Altman.
Yeah.
And Jim Brooks and even Gregory Nava, and just you give the actors the room, so the actors get the room. That's how we start the scene. We figure it out. We try to find it. We find it. We feel comfortable. We bring in the crew. We bring in the camera crew. I bring in our DP, and then they go to work. They look at it. We tune it up a little bit. If we need to change things a little bit to accommodate, we do. But and then making the actors feel really comfortable. The actors really knew these parts. I didn't really have to give them much direction, to be honest with you. I mean, a little here and there, we talk about things or just try to get into the moment. But, everybody brought it. Everybody was really strong, I got to say. So, I just had to make sure I stepped up as an actor and I felt I was able to hold my own, but that was not, it was challenging. It wasn't an easy piece.
You mentioned all the directors you worked with. Can you tell me any experience with Altman? Because I am kind of obsessed with him as a filmmaker. I mean, obviously he was a great filmmaker, but also his working methods seemed so unique to me.
Yeah, well, he was amazing. Basically, he came up to me one day and he goes, "Hey, Randall, here's $2,000. Go buy yourself some suits and some sunglasses." And I was like, "Okay." And so I did that. And then he said, "Here's the keys. There's a Porsche out front on the lot." He says, "Why don't you? Here's some keys. Just cruise around, and if anybody bugs you, just have them call me." And so I'm thinking, and he introduced me to like these world-class supermodels as my character. He said, "Hey, this is Reg. His dad owns the studio." And I didn't sort of butt in and say, "Well, actually, I'm Randall and I'm playing the guy." I was like, "Yeah, okay, my dad owns." And so people said to me, "Hey, did Altman direct you?" And my first reaction, many years ago, was no. He didn't. He didn't really give me any direction. But I realized, upon thinking about it, that in fact he had actually turned me in. He had completely set the stage for me to be Reg Goldman. I wore $1,000 suits. I wore Oliver Peoples sunglasses. I had my own Porsche. I could drive around. My dad owned the studio. If I had any issues, talk to Bob. He would invite me down to Malibu to hang out with Julia Roberts and Bruce Willis and Jack Lemmon and Rod Steiger. I mean, it was literally the best month of my life, and I didn't know who I was or what I was, because I had already I had starred in For Keeps, and but I hadn't worked in 3 years. I went to college, so I got back, and this was my first job. This was right before I did School Ties, and literally I was kind of a mess, because I was like, am I somebody or am I a no? Like it was really weird for me. The whole thing was so weird, because he treated me like I was an equal with all these huge stars, and it couldn't have been nicer and more pleasant and fun and inviting into his world, and it was an amazing world.